But are they rooting the fun of weed? Now we got to read a fucking menu.
I know, it's
high.
a lot.
I mean,
it's a lot.
But see, when you a weedologist, you know this shit.
You
So he read through the book just like that. He know that motherfucker front and back.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you read through the whole menu already?
I got it.
You got it. The last time we saw Seth Rogen, you got to hear this. So you were promoting Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
You were on the Kelly Ripa show with Michael Strahan.
Yeah.
You wanted to call us.
I did.
So you were like, hey, I need a landline.
Yes.
Or I need somewhere quiet to call.
What happened was I had to call at exactly like 7:45 or whatever it was.
Right.
And I was there was traffic. And so I got there like a little bit like it was pushing it, and the only room with a phone that was empty, it was literally like I was looking at two doors, and one was Hugh Jackman's dressing room, and one was Michael Strahan's dressing room, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going Michael Strahan on this one.
Yeah, because he's the host, and they got to be nice to you because you're doing the show.
I went in there, and at first it was empty, aside from two like women who worked for him or
like
something
makeup people?
like that. Yeah. But then they very quickly wanted me the fuck out of there.
Yeah, Michael walked in.
Well, first someone came in with a sign that said, like, you got to get out of here. And I, like, waved them off and was like,
fuck you.
This. Like, and then they left for a few minutes. And then they came back with, like, somehow, like, a more firmly written sign that was like, seriously,
yelling at you
have to get out of here.
Was it in caps?
Yeah, exactly. It was all of a sudden all capitalized with exclamation marks. And I still waved him off, and I just wouldn't leave.
You mean he's changing and they're telling you to get out and you won't leave?
No, yeah. Now he's in his underwear. They genuinely don't want me in this room.
They don't?
Like, all right. In this room, on this side of the phone, it's not a joke.
All right, listen to me. Go see Seth Rogen.
I think it was one of those things where the people at the Kelly and Michael show were worried that Michael would get mad at them for sticking me in his dressing room on the phone with you.
It was so funny. We got so many emails about it. And then like a bunch of the guys around here were going, you know what we got to do? Let's get Seth Rogen to go on his whole tour and just call us from different dressing rooms. I go, no. I said it was a moment that happened. You can't recreate it. Yeah, you can't recreate something
in a
like
bottle,
that.
Man.
Seth tells this great story in the book how he gets a call that Tom Cruise is now thinking he wants to do comedy. The real comedy is what happened when you went to see Tom Cruise. First of all, this is the movie. I love that you had to pee so bad that you peed into a Snapple bottle to meet with Tom Cruise.
I stopped halfway up the driveway, kind of in the woods above Sunset Boulevard, and I peed in a Snapple bottle in my car. And then I sealed the bottle and left it there and went on to have a very absurd meeting with Tom Cruise. But to get to the end of it, so then as I was leaving the meeting, I was snaking back down the driveway, and as I was passing the exact spot that I peed in, I noticed a red light in the woods and looked, and there was a security camera literally pointed exactly where I was being in this now.
I felt your pain on that one. I loved it. But the meeting was so bizarre.
We had been meeting with him for a long time, a few hours. We've been talking, and again, I say, like, I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan. Like, I fucking love Tom Cruise. Like, I see every Tom Cruise movie. I go to theaters. I can't wait. That man is determined to die on camera for our entertainment.
And this meeting, by the way, was at the time when he was married to Katie Holmes, and he just had a baby with her, Suri. Right.
That was right when this meeting was like, it was at the peak of Tom Cruise. Like, I mean, I use the word mania in a very literal sense, I think, in this situation. So yeah, we met with him for hours, and not a few hours into the meeting, he goes, this Scientology stuff comes up, how weird he's looked in the press lately, kind of how, just how strange in general he's coming across.
But he said, what you said in your book was fascinating. He said, the press is trying to make me look crazy because I'm costing the pharmaceutical industry so much money, because he's against,
he's against pharmaceuticals. And then, the word he goes, and it's like with Scientology. He said, if you let me just tell you what it was really about, if you let me just give me like 20 minutes to like really just tell you what it was about, you would say, no fucking way. No fucking way. I remember being like, I remember, like, the wording was, I was like, is that a good thing to be saying? Is that a bad thing to be saying? And I remember thinking, like, if you let me tell you about Jewish people, you would say, no fucking way, man. No fucking way. And then I remember there was this very, like, loaded moment where he says this to us. If you just gave me, like, 20 minutes to tell you about this, you would say, no fucking way. And me and Jen are looking at each other, and I'm like, is he going to bite? Am I going to bite? How can we come out of this? Are we strong enough to have him do this to us and not be converted? I don't know if I am. I'm generally a weak-willed, weak-minded person, I would assume, on the grand scale of people. If they got him, what chance do I have? You know? And thank God Judd was like, I think we're good. Like, let's just talk about movies and stuff like that. I was like,
right.
Woof, dodge that bullet.
You know what I find amazing about you? You have a writing partner, and you're real successful as a writer, and you've got a production company. And I read something like you guys just sold 4 shows or something in production. Is that right? Is that right?
Yeah, we have a few pilots that we're trying to get made.
So you're really successful at writing all this. And the guy who's your writing partner, this kid Evan Goldberg, you met him when you were 12 at a bar mitzvah.
Yeah, bar mitzvah class. We met at bar mitzvah class.
And it's amazing to me that, how old are you now?
32.
So from the time you're 12 to the time you're 32, this kid has become your writing partner. You would think, like, most times that just wouldn't work out. You know what I mean? It's really weird.
It is very weird, and it's not, like, lost on me that we have, like, a very healthy, good working relationship with one another. I've seen a lot of partnerships. I mean, obviously, as a writer, you know other people who are in partnerships, and I've seen a lot of them, like, evaporate. Even people who've been together, like, for years and years and years and years and years.
Yeah, some of the great comedy teams, they've all broken up. It's just almost impossible to know someone since 12. And do you ever get like, well, maybe there are better people at this for me. Maybe I'll go right with this one or that one. You never get that way.
That's literally never even occurred to me ever. No, we like really get along. We work really well together. Right. And now that we're directing movies together, like, I think it's like, it's a whole new thing it's like a whole new horizon.
When you direct a movie with another guy, can you get in each other's way at all?
Very rarely. Like, we'll have, like, short, intense disagreements at times, but I'd say 95% of the time we're totally on the same page. And, like, we kind of have all the arguments that we would have before the filming of the movie starts.
And you know what's kind of cool too? I would think directing with another person is also kind of securing in a way, because you got at least somebody you can bounce off of, especially if you don't know how to do something.
Totally, and you can talk about it, and you can instantly get, like, a little consensus, and it's I would be really nervous doing it alone, honestly.
With all your movie success and writing success, and I've talked to you in the past about how you started out, what I like about you is you're such a regular guy. And by that I mean, your plan is to go to the comic book store today. Yeah. And then, wait, what were the 2 places? You're going to the comic book store, and then you're going to Tokyo Toy.
Toy Tokyo, yeah, that
Toy
place
Tokyo.
is great.
What's that?
Now, tell me, what is the comic book store you like?
Midtown Comics is a pretty good comic book store.
What kind of comics do you read?
I read all kind of comics. I read, like, superhero comics, Marvel comics, and I read I follow writers more than, like, the series. There's, like,
who are your faves?
Garth Ennis is one of my favorite writers.
See, part of the problem with me is, like, I used to, when I was a kid, I had every comic. Yeah. And now I haven't kept up. And then when I get these compilation books, I read the comics. I love comic books. Yeah. But then to go buy individual copies of comics,
it's tough
because you don't know where the beginning of the story is and all that. You're in the middle of it.
Yeah,
so how do you keep up? Do you have a subscription to these comics?
No, I'll try to, like, pick them up as they start, or sometimes you can go back and catch up on the ones that you. But yeah, I mean they're always starting, like, little mini series, so that's kind of what I try to grab.
So you try to grab the entire series.
Yeah, definitely. I don't like to jump into a story in the middle. But most of these writers now, through, like, smaller labels, release, like, their own, like, they call them, like, creator-owned series, and they'll be, like, 6 comic runs of kind of just little original things.
So when you go to the comic book store, you say to the guy, listen, I don't want any nonsense. I want to have a complete story.
Don't fuck with me, man.
Yeah, right. Listen, I'm a celebrity. I'm coming to your
know
store.
My shit.
Are there a lot of people in there?
Sometimes.
Do they get excited? Hey, there's Seth Rogen looking at comics.
Sometimes. Comic book fans are generally kind of shy and nerdy in general, so they're not up in your shit too much.
Do you get
but
special
probably
treatment?
they go home and say, "Hey, Mom, I'm not a loser. Seth Rogen."
Exactly.
Yeah, he was really high and he was reading comics. Yeah, see, I'm on the right track. I'm doing the same thing he's doing.
It's true. One time I was in a bookstore, actually, and a like 14-year-old kid came up to me. And he's like, and he was holding 2 books. He's like, "You're my fucking idol, man. Look at what 2 books I'm buying." And it was a book about screenplay writing and an encyclopedia of marijuana.
What a role model.
Yeah, like, you're on the right track, man.
Do you get special treatment at the comic book store? I mean, do people at the store try to assist you and help you?
Sometimes,
they
maybe.
do.
They'll tell me if there's anything I need to order, they'll put it on back order for me.
Right. Because it's quite charming that you still do this. I mean, you could go on the internet and buy comic books. You don't need to necessarily be at the store.
But you're looking for new stuff now. You want
It's on the
some
internet.
advice.
I like. I don't know. I like having
You like
the
the
actual
comic
book.
And what is Toy Tokyo? What is that all about? And what are you doing there?
It's like they sell like vinyl Japanese toys. I kind of.
Do you collect that stuff?
I do. A while ago, I got into a lot of like. I don't know. It's
Action
gonna make
figures?
me sound like a fucking huge nerd. It's okay.
Yeah.
No, not action figures. I collect like a lot of artists. I like make these like vinyl Japanese or not some of them are made in China and Japan, but a lot of artists I like make these vinyl toys, and I've been collecting those for years.
Where do you display the vinyl toys?
My office has a lot of them. They're kind of around the house. It's kind of a battle where I could get them.
And you like it.
Yeah,
And
it's like pop art to me. That's
Yeah.
why it's like it's like pop art.
But you seem like a guy who's really sort of at the same point. You have a lot of friends and this and that, but then you're solitary Seth Rogen. He writes, he smokes, and he has his toys.
Yes, exactly. My comics and my toys.
What should he be smoking? The first-time smoker, Snoop, and then I'll ask you, Seth.
I would say sativa.
Sativa.
Yeah, he should start with sativa because it's a little bit lighter.
It's upper,
and it's more of a introduction.
Yeah, I would probably actually start with something strong to make sure you
Go
feel
indica
it.
first?
No. I think, but I'm talking about like what percent should he start? Like they have these like lower percentage ones. They have like 14.
Are they rooting the fun of weed? Now we got to read a fucking menu.
I know,
to get
it's a
high.
lot.
I mean,
It's
it's
a
a
lot.
lot.
But see, when you a weedologist,
Yeah.
you know this shit.
You
So
just know what you
he
want.
went through the book just like that. He know that motherfucker front and back.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you read through the whole menu already?
I got it.
You got it.
That's what they did. He thumbed through that shit like that.
You're like a ninja.
Yeah. Oh, I got it.
Unbelievable.
So
Unbelievable.
what would you have, Seth?
I would probably get like a strong, like, because there's like some lower percentage weeds which some people like to smoke if they smoke weed all day. Like there's like 14% THC, which is like enough that you will get high.
Right.
But it's gonna wear off.
It'll wear off, but but I think for someone who just never smoked weed, you might want to start with actually stronger weed to make sure you actually
Feel something. Yeah.
because you might not. But again, one fucking hit.
Yeah.
If you hit this motherfucker one time, your bitch ass gonna be done.
Yeah. Look at this.
I don't want to be done.
I may want your ass done. So you talking that drug shit.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah, you hear me?
Oh my God.
Popping that bullshit, JD. We trying to get your motherfucking mind right. We want to get you right.
Why can't JD just
Your
smoke
whole,
here?
everything gonna change. When you smoke this shit, everything gonna change.
Can't JD just light up here?
Your FIFA appearance is gonna change. Your style of women gonna change. Your hair gonna get long.
By the way, I should mention, JD is wearing a special shirt for his
I
introduction
was keeping
to
up with
weed.
the theme today. I wore a
He
plant
says
shirt.
there's plants on
It's a
there. Some
cactus.
sort
It's
of
a cactus.
cactus.
Whatever.
Yeah,
It's
well,
Nah,
you can't-
cactus?
Cactus.
Eddie, what the fuck is that?
Snoop, what's with this shirt?
They could at least put a 4-leaf clover on that motherfucker or something that we recognize. Ain't no cactus in the hood, cuz.
You got to tell the story. I don't even know if Charlize knows about this. But weed does get you in trouble occasionally. Didn't you finally like meet Steven Spielberg, who I guess is like, the guy to meet?
Yeah.
And you were in the like smoking a joint in front of him?
Yes, I was.
Tell that story. Do you know about this, Charlize?
I do not. I do not.
Yeah.
What happened, Seth?
I was at. Yeah, I was. Oh man, and it's why it's probably why I'm not like in a lot of Steven Spielberg. It's my talent is probably also. But I was at a party, and it was
whose party? Was it a big party?
I think it was that Jeffrey Katzenberg night before party that he would have.
That's a big
So
deal.
it's like a big party with a lot of famous people at it, and I I was outside, and there was someone else I knew, and we started smoking weed, and I was smoking a joint, and like it was this awkward moment where like Steven Spielberg came up to me like as I had this joint in my hand, and I could just tell like he did not like it. Like it was a very judgmental moment, and then you're confronted with this thing where it's like, do I fucking try to hide it? Do I just keep smoking it? Do I act like
your dad caught you?
Exactly. And then I was just like, I think I just have to take ownership over this and keep smoking this joint in front of Steven Spielberg.
That is the
and
greatest.
I did. Yeah. And yes, and I've run into him a few times, and he always seems a little disappointed in me.
So the whole time you're talking to him,
yeah,
you said, "That's it, I got to go."
I just got to fucking smoke this shit. I got to down this thing while face to face with Steven Spielberg.
When you were a young comic, you were about to go on at 14, and you were auditioning for something big, right?
Just for Laughs Festival.
Why is that such a big deal?
It's the biggest comedy festival in North America and probably the world.
The story went that you were about to audition.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they go, ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Seinfeld just popped in.
Yeah.
And he wants to, but Seinfeld was already well known, right? I mean,
it was literally the peak of his show. I think it was like the 2 years before it went off the air. Like it was still on.
So he was a big fucking deal.
Oh, he was the biggest star on the planet by all means.
And so you're 14 years old. The Just for Laughs festival must have been like the most important thing in your universe.
Yeah, I really wanted to go.
You had probably been rehearsing and sort of going over your material for months,
meticulously,
right? The year is like 1996.
I'd flown to Los Angeles to do the audition.
And you probably had to convince your parents.
Yeah,
and
they
everything.
came with me. Yeah.
Right, a whole big deal.
Yeah.
14 years old, and then they go, excuse me, kid, Jerry Seinfeld just walked in the room, and he's going up before
They said he's coming. They said, I think Jerry Seinfeld. It was as the comic on me was kind of before, like, he had a few minutes left, and they were like, Seinfeld's coming. He might make it. He might not make it till after you. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Did it throw off your whole game?
Oh, yeah. It was, well, also, like, after Seinfeld, so he got there right before me and went on.
And he kills.
And annihilates, like, classic.
Because he's also Jerry Seinfeld, who's got the #1 television show.
He's the most famous comedian on the planet, and he's one of the best comedians on the planet. And at that time, I think what he was actually preparing for is he had this special where he stopped doing all his old material.
Oh, that's his retirement gig.
And in preparation for that, he was honing all of his best material to the sharpest edge it could possibly have.
Perfect.
And so it was literally like following like a Led Zeppelin greatest hits concert. And so he just like annihilates, and then he leaves, and then I go on after. And
do you stand there and watch him, or do you say, I'll avoid watching him because I don't want to feel like...
I remember I watched half of it, and then I was like, I can't even... I fucking like went out into the restaurant area. I was like, I can't even continue watching it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
and are your parents there with you, kind of trying to console you?
My mom was there. I'm sure she was... I'm sure my mom, honestly, like, her being starstruck over Seinfeld probably just superseded any sympathy she had for me in that moment.
Are all the other comedians laughing at you that you have to follow Seinfeld?
Yeah, it was just like a disaster.
After a guy like that kills, the laughs are so intense and the excitement is so intense that anyone who comes on afterwards, there's no way to recover. You can't even say to the audience, hey, man, I fucking suck, man. This is ridiculous.
No, and as a kid, I was already overcoming something. Like the first few minutes of my act were overcoming the fact, like on the best of circumstances, we're overcoming the fact that I was a 14-year-old kid, and you assume
it's a gimmick.
Anyone in their right mind assumes a 14-year-old kid is not fucking funny.
Right, and we're not going to be able to relate to him.
Yeah, and it's just going to suck, or it's going to be a gimmick, it's going to be annoying. And I really tried not to do that, so I really tried to like build the trust of the audience to like, no, I'm an actual comedian. And so it was like a double strike against me. And it was, to this day, like I have a visceral sense memory of being on that stage and just like eating fucking shit as hard as you can.
Do you think you ate shit, or do you think that's just in your mind?
I knew I ate shit. And the other thing that happened was also because I think it was my first time performing in America, and I didn't also understand that there were like cultural difference. Like in Vancouver, where I'm from, like everyone takes the bus. It's not like you're not a fucking weirdo if you are on the bus. But in Los Angeles in 1995, you are a fucking weirdo if you're on the bus. And so
you're doing bus material.
So I'm doing bus material, and people at the improv are like,
I haven't been on a bus in my life.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? We don't take the bus. And so it was like,
And I was like, oh my God. And I just remember like, okay, I'm following Seinfeld. I'm 14. No one here's ever been on a fucking bus in their fucking lives. Like, what is happening? And I just remember hearing the buzz. Like, I literally, that sound is tattooed in my brain, is the electronic hum off of the speakers.
Like
and I
like
could just and I just remember, and I literally remember like being on stage and stopping to talk for a moment to allow my brain to process the thought of like, I've never heard the electronic buzz coming off the speakers.
You mean you had, as a 14-year-old, had experienced some pretty good stand-up sets?
Oh yeah, I had done it like I'd started when I was 13, but I performed very regularly. So I had done, you know, dozens of shows by then.
I mean, you know, isn't it funny with comics? That's what the thing they always remember most, the shitty ones, the ones where they tank.
Oh, it still happened. What's funny is like it's sick, and it is how my brain works is sick, is like you know, I don't like ravenously devour the reviews to our movies, but I like to know what the consensus is. And even if there's a really good review, if there's one sentence that fucking says something that bothers me, that's all I like days later, I'll be like, the fuck does that guy mean the art direction wasn't up to snuff?